With 4 races of the 2024 Formula One season done and dusted, the pecking order of the F1 grid is starting to take shape. Pretty much everyone will have Mercedes ranked 5th out of 10 teams, and if Lance Stroll can hit a little bit of form, that will be reflected in the constructors' standings. For their fans and their drivers, the most infuriating thing is that Mercedes are still making the same excuses they've been making for the past 2 seasons. Lewis Hamilton saw this coming and decided to ditch the team for next season, but is he going to hit his lowest ever point before that happens? Today, I'm going to check out the same old excuse that Mercedes keep using and look into the straws that Toto Wolff is grasping at to blame anyone but his own team for their mistakes. So, let's get into it. Mercedes have more or less stood still from 2022 through 2023 to 2024. In absolute terms, they are where they were last year, around 0.8% off the fastest car over a qualifying lap, but in relative terms, they have moved backwards. Ferrari and now McLaren are ahead of them, which means their direct rivals are Aston Martin. With 2 drivers of race-winning quality, Aston Martin could probably be comfortably ahead of Mercedes. This is a team that should theoretically be winning. They spent enough money on their infrastructure before the cost cap came in that they can't place the blame on poor quality equipment. Yet despite 2023 being a bad year, they've made no real progress over the winter. At least in 2023 they were consistently scoring top 5 finishes, but now they're struggling to do even that. After Friday practice in Suzuka, Lewis Hamilton said this was the best his current Mercedes car has felt. Even after qualifying 7th, half a second off Max Verstappen's pole time, he was positive. The W15 was the most comfortable it had been all season. This has been the case all season actually. Mercedes have finished Friday really happy with how things are going. The English coverage via Sky or BBC or wherever else you get your F1 news had declared that this was the race they would turn the corner. Yet the signs of positivity were scant after the race. In general, the car just feels pretty bad, Lewis said after struggling to finish 9th in Suzuka. That stark contrast between Friday and Sunday is becoming a very familiar one for Mercedes, especially for Hamilton. Their time in the new ground effect era has been characterized by both a lack of progression and several false dawns. In recent months though, Mercedes have fronted up to their problems, even if they are some way from fixing them. Hamilton has just 10 points after 4 rounds, and for the first time in his F1 career, he's gone 6 races without finishing in the top 6. This is not only Hamilton's worst start to an F1 season in his 17-year career, but 2024 is also his most confusing campaign. Firstly, there is the unpredictable nature of what he expects from his car, and then what he gets one session to the next. Secondly, he leaves Mercedes for Ferrari after 12 years at the end of the season, so he's unsure how his team might start treating him as the season progresses. Thirdly, his form is going through a particularly rough patch. Whether or not Hamilton is personally confused or just frustrated, it's certainly confusing to anyone watching. In Japan, he at least outqualified George Russell for the first time this year, but failed to keep that advantage at the end of the checkered flag. It was strange to hear him sheepishly almost request that he let his teammate buy a Suzuka. It's not something you hear often from even those drivers in F1 who are lucky to have their seat, let alone drivers of Hamilton's class. Russell beat Hamilton in their first season together, though his fans will blame that on Mercedes using his car to test setups, but the 7-time champion bounced back with an assured 2023 compared to his teammate's rocky one. In 2024, it's been one-way traffic, with Hamilton failing to finish ahead of Russell and trailing 24 points to 10. The W15 is currently the 5th fastest car over 1 lap and maybe the 4th fastest over a race distance. Of their rivals, not counting Red Bull, who Mercedes can only dream of rivaling right now, McLaren and Ferrari are clearly ahead. Indeed, the performance gap from the dominant Red Bull to Ferrari is not much greater than that from Ferrari to Mercedes. It's not just about understanding problems when your car is slow, but also understanding what makes your car quick when it performs well. Mercedes seem to be stuck in a cycle that they cannot break. Some key piece of knowledge to stop that cycle is missing, presumably gone with one of the many staff members who left the team in the past few years. At least they're no longer hiding behind the fallacy that they have a quick car but just need to unlock its inherent pace. However, the most recent excuse for their poor performance is perhaps even more ridiculous than the claims that the car is still fast. Inconsistency and inaccurate correlation data have been recurring themes for Mercedes this season. Toto Wolff has spoken extensively about this throughout 2024 and for the seasons before as well. One theory for the constant irregularity of the W15 is susceptibility to changes in track temperature. Mercedes are saying that a cooler track is an advantage for the Silver Arrows, while increased temperatures have a negative impact. To understand the root of these issues, the team worked diligently in the build-up to the weekend. The decision was even made to bring the initial floor specification from Bahrain to establish a baseline. Blaming changes in track temperature is like blaming wet weather for a bad performance. Every F1 team has to deal with changing track temperatures. Mercedes can't seriously say that a warm track is to blame for finishing 45 seconds behind Red Bull in Japan. Nonetheless, Toto Wolff says that the experimentation work done over the weekend in Japan was invaluable for the team. When we went on the same sting as the others, the second and third round, we were really good and competitive, he said. It's live testing that we're doing at the moment. The result is really bad on the table, but really good from the things we learned. It wasn't the fuel, it was that we overmanaged it. The one stop looked possible, and we tried to let the tyre survive. The stint was so bad that we probably lost half a minute. In the second and third stints, we were competitive and on the podium. I don't always want to sugarcoat what could have been possible, because in the end it was P7 and P9. But the live experiment worked this weekend. Wolff's positive outlook is something that he's echoed on numerous occasions since 2022, and Mercedes fans are getting pretty sick of it. For most of the current F1 regulations, the German constructor has been adamant about their long-term potential. With a brand new set of technical regulations coming for the 2026 season though, that long-term potential needs to be realized about 2 months ago because they're running out of time to be competitive. Mercedes' self-belief was especially prevalent in pre-season, as evidenced by James Allison. The Mercedes technical director seemed confident that with a new platform, the W15 could be the second fastest team to start the year. How wrong he ended up being. In addition to their new claim that the changes in track temperature that every team has to deal with are to blame for their lack of improvement over the past 2.5 years, Mercedes is still blaming their simulator as well, a claim that Wolff reiterated in Japan. A large part of the problem with their performance is how slow they are through high-speed corners. The team's initial investigation focused on a disconnect between predicted downforce from the wind tunnel and CFD simulations and real-world performance. However, a deeper dive into the W15's data revealed an even more puzzling truth. The car appears to be generating the predicted downforce levels, but it isn't translating this benefit into improved performance. According to Wolff, this unexpected finding has shifted the team's focus from aerodynamics to potentially a mechanical issue that is undermining the W15's performance and behavior. We're measuring downforce with our sensors and pressure tabs, and it's saying to us that we have 70 points more downforce in a particular corner in Melbourne than we had last year, but on the lap time, it's not 1 km an hour faster. It doesn't make any sense, so where's the limitation? Pinpointing a probable cause for the weird discrepancy is a first important step, but solving the enigma is a complex affair, insists Wolff. Everything over these 2 years, which we've seen, points that there should be much more downforce than we believe it is, he said. And now we've measured the downforce, and it is there. But we're just not able to extract the lap time out of it that we should, and that the simulations show us. It's not trivial. Mercedes' entire winter was about rebuilding the mechanical parts of the car, such as the chassis and the suspension, and they did so at great cost, but clearly, something went very wrong during that process. With no clear indication of what is going wrong with the car, Hamilton is going to be stuck trying out experimental setups and parts for another season, as Mercedes use him as a guinea pig until he leaves at the end of the year. This won't just be the worst start to a season he has ever had, it will be his worst season ever. Or will their continued struggles see them fall further down the F1 table? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.